Hello. Have you ever heard the phrase, read the room? It's important for a speaker to understand the mood, emotions, or social dynamics of a group and to adjust their words accordingly so the message lands. Standing before the Areopagus Council, Paul read the room. He understood his audience consisted of three completely different frameworks: the temple system, the Stoics, and because in verse 18 the Epicureans are mentioned, we can assume they were also present. Let's look at what each of these believed and start with the temple system. And this is going to be the majority of people in Athens. They believed the temples were the literal physical homes of the gods. The Parthenon wasn't just a beautiful building, it was Athena's house, her address. Because if your god doesn't have an address, how do you know where to show up to make offerings? They believed every god had a domain that they oversaw. No one god owned everything, and no one god knew everything. For example, Zeus ruled the sky, so if you needed good weather, you went to him. Poseidon, the sea. If you needed calm water for fishing, you went to him. Ares, battle. So if you needed victory in war, you went to him. A specialist for every area of life. Priests had access to the inner sanctuary where the gods dwelled, but regular people couldn't go inside because the temple was too sacred. The whole system was transactional. If you needed something from a god, you went to their house, you prayed, you left a gift or made an offering, and hoped the god noticed so you could get your desired outcome. Their goal in life was practical. They believed that as long as they managed their relationships with the gods well enough, they would get through life successfully. They believed in an afterlife and judgment. Now, the Stoics were the philosophical elite of Athens. They were pantheists, meaning God is everything and everything is God. They called God the Logos, one divine, rational force woven through all matter. The divine permeated everything like heat through metal. And so they did not believe a temple was necessary because the Logos was not a personal being sitting above creation that could be housed. They believed matter had always existed and was eternal, so it preceded the gods. They believed that a craftsman god called the demiurge organized the eternal matter into the world we see. Their goal in life was virtue and living in harmony with the Logos. They did not believe in an afterlife. And lastly, the Epicureans. They believed the gods existed, but that the gods were perfect beings and that involvement in anything outside their perfection would tarnish their state of being. So the gods took no interest in human affairs. They didn't create or intervene in anything. They didn't respond to prayer or worship. They simply didn't care about people. So if the gods don't care, there's no point in building them temples or offering them sacrifices. The goal of life for an Epicurean was to be happy and to live a life without suffering. And when they died, that would be it, and there would be no afterlife or divine judgment. This was Paul's audience. Three completely different belief systems, but what they did have in common was none of them had a personal God. In his commentary, Dr. Fruchtenbaum says, in verses 24 through 28, Paul spelled out several characteristics of the unknown God. The first characteristic is that God is the creator and the source of all life. Let's look at Strong's G 4160. Poieō. It means to create, to do, to produce. In Thayer's specifically, it says in this verse, it is used of God and it carries the meaning to create, to produce as the author of all things. Continuing with Fruchtenbaum. When Paul stated the God that made the world and all things therein, he used Stoic language because this argument was aimed towards the Stoics. He challenged certain Greek ideas, such as that the demiurge created the universe. Furthermore, the fact that the Creator brought all things into being proved that matter did not exist eternally, as they believed. As Fruchtenbaum pointed out, Paul used this word intentionally, and it would have gotten the Stoics' attention because, remember, one of the Stoics' beliefs were that the demiurge organized matter, which they believe was eternal. But Paul doesn't use the word for organizing. He uses poieō, And the word itself is an argument because he's claiming that God originated matter and brought it into existence from nothing. Something that stood out to me about this portion is that this is a good framework for sharing the gospel because Paul used general revelation and didn't start with the law, the prophets, or anything that required prior knowledge of scripture. He's like, see how everything looks? I know you think it's always been here, but it hasn't. God was first and he created matter. That's poieō. Love you.